What's up guys, and welcome to a new series here on my channel. We're going to be doing another series of comic reviews, and this one is going to be based on the Alien 3 comic based on the Unproduced Screenplay by William Gibson. Now originally, before the movie we got, there were plenty of different scripts and renditions of the story that was going to be Alien 3 which never came to surface, and specifically two of them that were very popular were the ones made by William Gibson. There was one that was more horror orientated, and then there was a second one which was more akin to what we saw in Aliens. And I believe this comic that we're seeing now is based on the second script, which is a little bit more action oriented but still has a lot of horror in it. Now I actually love Alien 3, specifically the directors, the assembly cut. I find that to be just one of those movies that gets better every time you watch it. I know a lot of people hate it, but the main focus of this story is I guess from a future look at it, is what would have happened if Newt and Hicks would have survived the alien infestation on the ship, the Sulaco. One thing I will point out is that there is actually an audiobook version of this now, which came out after this comic series, and the voices are done by Lance Henriksen, who plays Bishop, and Michael Biehn, who plays Hicks. So I'm really interested into listening to that, just because it has the cast from the actual films back in. So before I talk about the actual issue, I'm just going to show you the cover I have. There are multiple covers for each issue. There's 5 issues overall, but this is the one I chose for the first one, and it has a picture of the Xenomorph which looks to be inside a vent. And at the bottom we have our first look at Michael Biehn and Lance Henriksen's character as Bishop, and Hicks. We see Hicks has his bandages on from the end of Aliens, where his face gets melted basically. So the story here is done by William Gibson obviously, and the art is done by Johnny Christmas and Tamara Bonvillain. I'm not going to try and make sure I get that right. It probably sounds like Bond villain how I've written it down here. And it's published by Darkhorse Comics, who do pretty much all of the Aliens and Predator stuff. So how this comic starts is basically the Sulaco, which is a ship from the end of Aliens with all of the characters on board, is drifting through space into a place known as the Union of Progressive People, which sounds like an interesting place for the story to go. And it's actually drifting through their jurisdiction, and the people from that place try to intercept the ship before it falls out of their jurisdiction. So we get this scene where these people are rushing to get on the ship to find out what's on it before it goes out of their own jurisdiction into somewhere else. So we start off with a scene which is very, very alien, like Aliens, I'd say, from the scene where they break into the Nostromo ship and they find Ripley. It reminds me a lot of that. The people who seem to be on this ship trying to find out what's going on seem to be wearing very futuristic armour and spacesuits. It does actually remind me a lot of the stuff we see in Prometheus, with like a team of scientists that actually have a lot more money behind them compared to like the people of the Nostromo and just like the military from the second one. So we see a lot more high-tech gear, and this goes with the colours as well. There's a lot of blues and dark colours in the beginning of this, which is a lot like the second Alien film. But then the visors on the people are very like bright and like luminescent green, and I really love the look of that, and I really would like to see that on the big screen. So actually on board the ship they find the corpse, or the severed body of Bishop, and he seems to be having like an egg embedded in his stomach, and this would actually make sense for what happens in the actual Alien 3 with where the alien came from. I guess they could have played with this plot line of the alien being inside Bishop's body somehow. Maybe the Queen put it in there when it ripped into pieces at the end of Aliens. So understandably the people are pretty freaked out when they find this, and they decide to run off with Bishop's body. Shit goes down obviously, as you'd expect there to be aliens and facehuggers and stuff, and it's a really cool scene. As I was reading I was just thinking this would make one hell of like an opener for an Alien. And then we move over to the other side of the story, which is with the ship flowing out of the jurisdiction into somewhere else, where it's intercepted by a station called Anchor Point, which is actually owned by Weyland-Yutani, which is where you don't really want any of our characters to be heading towards, because we know their motives are shady at best. With this being the first issue, we don't really get too much of like what's actually going on with the story. We just get introductions to a lot of the characters, and we're introduced to 2 biolab technicians, one called Tully and one called Spence, I think, and these seem to be what's going to be the main characters other than the ones we already know. And they are tasked with going over the ship that they've found and obviously giving it a good check over for biohazardous material. We're also introduced to the leader of the Union of Progressive People, I think it is, and his name is Rossetti. He's this old dude. He looks pretty chill. He looks kind of like one of those sort of old hippie guys who spent the 70s just smashing drugs, and he's in a dilemma here because he's being forced to bring this ship into his station at the demands of Weyland-Yutani, and they want to figure out what's on the ship. And for the first time in the Alien series, we seem to have a couple of Weyland-Yutani employees who are in the forefront. We know of them from the start. We know who they're working for. So there's no secrecy. There's no traps or betrayals. It seems like these guys are just there for the weapon for the alien, and it's told to you straight up, so it's a refreshing change in the series. So the Weyland-Yutani suits and the team from Anchor Point go onto the ship, and they find like the aftermath of what's happened in the Outer Limits with the other two people, and they find out what's happened previously with the people who went onto the ship, and they found Bishop, and they just find dead bodies and corpses and exploding rib cages, as you would expect. So the Weyland people obviously know what it is, but the other people are just totally underestimating what they're going to find. They find Ripley and Newt, so we have confirmation that they are both alive, which is a big change from the Alien 3 movie, as you know. And then the comic really wraps up when we see the team who had taken Bishop's body, and we see that a certain character is also alive, and we see him in a sort of like a silhouette, and you can tell who it is already, and that's how I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to give you huge spoilers on every little detail that happens, but I'm very happy with this first issue in the Alien 3 comic book. I would love to see this like be brought to life on TV. Stranger things have happened, like I can imagine it happening in maybe 10-20 years down the line. This could be in Neil Blomkamp's Alien film that was apparently going to be made. It's also very interesting that Hicks and Bishop are separated from Ripley and Newt, and they're in separate factions, and these factions seem to be at war with each other, I guess. Not at war, but they have different laws and jurisdictions, obviously with one of them being owned by Weyland-Yutani, so it's going to be interesting to see how these two corporations sort of go at ends with each other and how they work together and how they meet up eventually. So I'm really looking forward to where issue 2 goes. So I really enjoyed this comic. This is like a really good opener. It really gets you invested in the characters and the locations and what's going to happen. So hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm definitely going to be making a review for issue 2 very soon, so make sure you check out my channel and stay tuned and subscribe if you want to be notified when that one goes live. Any questions you have or thoughts about this issue or Alien 3 or the Assembly Corps or the story in general, and let me know down in the comment section what did you think of this comic if you've read it. And I guess I will see you guys with issue 2 coming very soon.